So, to that end, let's go ahead and take a look in the scriptures and see what we can find today. We're going to go to Romans. We're going to talk about Isaiah, which was one of the Old Testament books. But the book of Romans is a New Testament book that was obviously written probably concerning Romans. Yeah, there we go. You got it. The great historical Rome. And so I'd like to read to you from the book of Romans, chapter 10, verse 15. And how shall we preach unless they are sent? Preach what? Preach the message of God, right? People have to be sent preaching the message that came from God. Isaiah is talking about that. You can read it in the Old Testament, do your own research, get familiar with that story. I'm just talking about the principle of spiritual knowledge coming from messengers or from God himself down to messengers through certain means and certain peoples and certain tribes and certain revelations. But it's discussing how spiritual knowledge has been passed down from generation to generation, from God to man. And it's oral traditions and it's recordings in the Word of God, it's manuscripts, it's transcripts, it's supposedly the commandments, the stone tablets, hieroglyphics, many discussions, many means of spiritual information being passed down. So let's take a look. Romans chapter 10, verse 15. And how shall they preach unless they are sent? As it is written, how beautiful are the feet of those who preach the gospel of peace, who bring glad tidings of good things. So that's just basically saying people are carrying this spiritual message, the gospel, the good news of a relationship with God, the Most High. And how would they hear about it unless someone is sent with that knowledge from God? And so it's talking about how wonderful, how beautiful, how joyous, how great it is that people find that relationship with God that's, through spiritual knowledge, and they're excited to tell other people about it. They're sent from God to share this revelation that came from God. All right? And then in verse 16 it says, but they have not all obeyed the gospel. So people have been given this spiritual information, but not all have obeyed it. Not all have begun to acknowledge the Most High, the mighty God, the Holy One of Israel, as the Israelites would like to call God. But the end-all be-all is there's an eternal God, and you need the spiritual information from that eternal God so that you're equipped and ready and prepared for the day of reckoning, the day that we meet Him, the day that we come face to face. Okay? And so, dealing with that very large concept, this passage is saying the message is beautiful that is being carried out, that you can have relationships through the Spirit with this mighty God, but not have all obeyed that message. Then it says, verse 16, for Isaiah says, Lord, who has believed the report? We've spoken it, we've carried it out on our feet, in our mouths, with our tongues, we've taken it to people. Not all have obeyed it, Who has believed the report we've given about you? Who has believed that there is a way to have a relationship spiritually with the Creator? Verse 17, key verse. So then, faith, belief, faith comes by hearing, and hearing by the Word of God. Did you catch that? What is it to believe in God, or to believe in the Creator, or to assent to spiritual information, to know the Almighty? It's to have faith. So then faith comes by hearing, and that hearing comes by the Word of God, by the very utterance, the very revelation of God Himself into your heart and your soul. Yes, indeed, these words have gone across the earth. The revelation of God has been handed down from generation to generation so that you could receive it, so that you could begin a relationship with Him, her, it, they, them, the Spirit. It's so that you would become awakened inside your heart and your mind to the reality of a Creator. And I think that some call it born again in the Bible, some call it being awakened, they call it enlightenment, they call it repenting or converting or coming to the knowledge of the truth. It doesn't really matter what you call it. This Bible speaks of the spiritual realms. It speaks of spiritual truth. It brings you the information that you need to come to know all that you need to know about the creation, the Creator, and the basic information before leaving Earth. It lets you know of the eternal realms of existence. Nobody knows the realms. The scientists are seeking to find out what's out there. They wonder if there's aliens. Maybe the government's hiding spiritual information. Maybe there's an alien existence. I don't know. Maybe it's angels. Maybe there's messages. Maybe there's beings. Maybe there's gods. Maybe all the seeking that they do with science in the outer regions of the ozones and the atmospheres. Maybe they're doing all that to try and find God, and I believe that's really what they're trying to do. They're trying to get in touch with spiritual things, maybe the spiritual workers of darkness. But let's just realize God sent His word to us. God brought His information through teachings that have been passed down from generation to generation. And He did that. It's good news. It's a message of peace, and it's something that you need to reckon with. Your spirit inside your body, your mind and your heart, your soul, your spirit. Those things, from what I understand, are eternal. They're going to last forever. The karma, the aura, the eternal. Consider that. Think about doing a little research in the Bible on your own. Do a little reading. Do a little exploring. Get involved. Get in your heart and your mind. And get on board with what we need to learn before leaving Earth. Have a great day.